So again, part of us being individuals, part of us being individuated implies allowing God to be an individual, allowing him to be individuated, if you will. I mean, he is. It's not that I'm allowing him, but allow that side of him in our lives. To allow God to exercise also his individuality in my own life. Again, he's an individual in the context of me being an individual. That's how it works, a relationship. Now, if one of the two parts of the relationship does not allow the other to be an individual, we stop speaking about relationship. We have to find a different word for that. So we have to allow Krishna being an individual in the context of us being individuals. The two things must be in place for rasa to happen, if you will. So again, what's our role as individuals allows to allow God to be an individual in our life? That's the question we have to ask. I mean, God is already an individual. We don't have to demand Krishna to individuate himself. He did his job, his homework from time immemorial without beginning. So the question is, what's my role as an individual to allow Krishna to be an individual in my life and not just limit him to be an impersonal force that I invoke, who knows for which desire here and there often, and not so often. So part of our dealing with our individuality, of course, is to surrender and to get out of the way. In the words of some mystics, they will say, we need to learn sometimes to get out of the way. In other words, not to put opposition to Krishna's attempt to reach us through his individuality. But to get out of the way or to surrender means that requires individuality. You have to be an individual and take an individual choice to surrender and to get out of the way, if you will, and allow God to be all that he can be in your life. So to get out of the way so God's individuality can affect your individuality, for that you need to employ your individuality to get out of the way. Again, so God's individuality can meet our individuality in a pure naked form without obstacles in between. So again, we have to individuate ourselves to surrender ourselves. Now, we have to have an ego before you can let go of your ego, if you will. You have a material identity, if you will, a human sense of self. You have to have that in balance so that can be properly surrendered, offered. All this in a very voluntary, individual way. So we need to be balanced as human sadhakas, so to say, so we can offer that balanced humanity on a yet deeper layer of sacred commitment. So balancing our humanity is not separate from the idea of offering ourselves, of saranagati, of taking full shelter. Indeed, the very notion of taking shelter that we use so often, it's part of our lingo, Gaudiya lingo. It's not a fixed idea. Again, it's not something that always means the same for every person in every situation. Be careful with that. Saranagati, surrender, is not one same thing. It's something in constant change and evolution, and it's something that's taking different shapes according to the need of the moment for every person. Don't forget that this is a very unique, individual, and a specific experience, inner situation that each one of us is going through. If we denied all this nuanced scenario, so to say, and instead trying to impose a generic notion of this is Sharanagati, swallow it, or whatever, or this is humility, this is how everyone should be humble at every moment, or whatever, any other devotional virtue, if you impose them in such an abstract way, again, you are indulging in a form of impersonalism.